Okay guys, so we are going to start our class now, and today is we just talk about the database, right? Database means we have let's say how we can explain. We are talking about prisma, right? Not the database but the prisma. And what is prisma? If you click here, right, prisma unlocks a new level of developer, right, experience when working with the database, thanks to its intuitive data model, right, automated migrations, type safety, and auto completion. Okay, I think fine. Who is here? So this is the website for prisma, right? This is the website. You can read it when you get time. Just look at a couple of, we can go to the maybe documentation and somewhere here, right, and read through just to get some basic understanding. Okay, in our nextjs previously what we do, right, we use mongodb, our database, correct, and then we use this server. Basically we use mongoose client. Remember that mongoose, we install mongoose, right, mongoose, to create schema and all that, right, in our project. That was the client for MongoDB to connect with MongoDB and to establish connection between your projects and the database. That was the mongoose library, correct? So now we're gonna replace this mongoose with prisma. The job of prisma is same thing like mongoose, but prisma is more advanced, very fast, and is simple to basically write, right? It has type checking and everything, like what type of data is this. Basically type script is included there, right? So you can add all that things there, so that's why we have to maybe start using this one, right? I have never used, but we're gonna learn it and use it, because in any project you're gonna work, any company, right, they might ask you for prisma also. You know how to install mongoose and create api and all that, okay, but with prisma, we should know also, right? And we're going to use prisma in our the upcoming projects, so that's why I have to little bit talk about this also. So let's start from here, right, getting started. But before that, you can look at here, the definition. Prisma, object relational mapping, right, ORM. It is called ORM, object relational mapping. It's just a database management tool, correct, that simplifies data interaction, providing a type safety. So what type of data is that? Integer or maybe string or array or object, whatever, right? And query builder. So you build, basically you build the whole schema, right? You build the schema, and it has the model, right? We call it model or maybe provider. Let's say the connection, once you build the schema, right, then you have the connection or connection variable which you're going to use to connect, basically to make a connection between your database MongoDB and your API. Okay, so we'll see how it all work, right? It's a tool to work with the database in efficient operation. Basically it just makes things easy. MongoDB will be our database, same MongoDB what we used before in Atlas, right? It is the NoSQL. MongoDB is what? NoSQL database, means we don't have a external query language, right? So with prisma, see, prisma is used for many different databases. You can implement with the MySQL or maybe Oracle, whatever, right? There are many different databases you can use with prisma. Prisma can be used to make connection with so many different databases. In our case, we're just going to use MongoDB, right? So MongoDB, it's just Ja- uh, JavaScript object notation type of document, we all know that is object kind of database. You have object with a property and value. That's how we store the data, right, in MongoDB. Setting up prisma, how are we going to set up prisma? Defining the data models, creating migrations, performing CRUD operation, right? So first we're going to learn how to set up prisma in our next project. Then we're going to define the models, right? So models is what is model now? The blueprint, right, for your table. Remember, if you have user can have id, name, email, password, whatever, right? All these are the definition of your table, correct? Or we can call it document. So that we define in the model. Okay, and then after that, just creating migrations, right? Creating migrations basically, with MongoDB, I believe we don't have to migrate. With MySQL, MySQL has they have the set of what you call that, the set of rule, right, to write the table, like creating table, update, delete, all that. You have to write the query structure, query language, right? But in the MongoDB, most likely we don't have to do that. Okay, we'll see, we'll check later. And then performing CRUD operation, create, read, update, delete. I mean, once we define the model, then we're gonna create an API which will which we're gonna use to create, read, update, and delete from our database. Okay, so we're gonna just use the same project we did yesterday, right? For our API, we just update that CRUD operations. We're gonna do that. So let's start now. Let's go back here, set up prisma with MongoDB. So you're gonna find the document here, right? So if you look at here, the MongoDB, okay, start from the scratch, right? If you start from scratch, that means maybe you have to create a project folder and all that. Okay, but let's say you have nextjs project already, right? Add to an existing project, and then you choose the database, right? Which database you want to connect. So there is a relational database. If you look at the relational database, like MySQL and other stuff, right? The relational database will be MySQL, or maybe SQL, whatever other database. Okay, but there is also support for MongoDB, right? I mean, Prisma support MongoDB also. So we go to MongoDB, and then first one is here, right? Once we are in the MongoDB, we reach here, set up Prisma. So next, add the Prisma CLI as a development dependency to your project. We have to install this, right? First, okay, we need to install this. So I did install already. What you can do is just go to the terminal and install, right? So this is my project folder and install. So I have already installed, so I will not install now. You just click enter, it will install, right? Once it finish install, you move to the next command now. So you can now invoke the Prisma CLI by prefixing npx prisma, right? So you have to run this one after that. Okay, so just copy that, and again go back to your terminal and just run that command, npx prisma. Do that. Okay, once you finished, the last one is npx prisma init, right? So next, set up your Prisma project. So once you do this, right, it will create the Prisma schema file with folder and everything. It will just give you the templates, right, to create a schema. So once we copy this and run that one, okay, run this, what we will get is, you're gonna get this folder. Look at here. So inside, you have in the main project folder, you have app, and along with the app, right, there is something called Prisma. Okay, guys. So what is here now? You're not gonna get this client. Okay, I just added, right, but I'll show you this when we're gonna add. But you're gonna get schema.prisma file here. This is the schema.prisma file. That is one you're gonna get, and also you're gonna have this .env file, right? .env file also will be added to your project. So in the beginning, right, you will get PostSQL database link here. Okay, so what we have to do is we need to create the project inside our MongoDB, correct? So let's go there. I start from that, right? So MongoDB Atlas. So it's just, I mean, if you just follow this whole process, right, it will be easy. I mean, there is nothing difficult. You guys know already how to create projects in MongoDB. It's same thing. So just connect to your account. Right, and let's say, because I have already created next prisma, right, I just created the project. So what you can do, let's say you want to create new project, click on top here, right, and go to the bottom, add new project, and give the project name. Okay, nextjs dash prisma, and after that you select the, it will be clustered 0, right? Select the free version, go to the next, and you put your, you just add the password, right? Or maybe, you know, just create the username, password, add the IP address and all that, and you're done, right? After that you go to the database setup. I mean, once the network is set up, right, once you go through there in all, you'll just reach here. Okay, admin, you're gonna reach to this, right? You just save the password. Okay, if you want to manually want to add the IP address, right, because this will make sure we can log in or access from anywhere. But if you use the IP address of your own computer, that means you will be allowed only log in from that computer. Okay, so you know, you can edit, you can, if you want to make it you want to access from any computer, then you must make sure 000, this is the IP address. That you can do with edit, right? Edit and just change it there and save. Okay, done. So once you have password, go to database, right? Go to database. So you can put the user as an admin and then your password, right? And then after that click on connect, correct, connect, and then, you know, driver, and get this link. See, so that is the link I have. So that's the same process what you have done before, exact same thing. Put it here. The only thing you can do is add the password, right? Password of your user admin. So whatever is the username, after that you're going to put the password, and then slash, I added this document name, right? Users, or you can call it table name, users. Okay, so inside that users table you might have different let's say users database, right? I can call it users database. The database name is users, because inside my project next, let's say next prisma, if I go to the browse collection, let's see, yeah, so that's the basically the database, right? Users. Okay, so inside my next prisma I can create many database also, right? I mean, you can do that, but inside the users now we have the table or document called user, right? User, and inside this is the first object. Okay, so I just added earlier, right, today. Okay, so that part, once you have the link, you know, you just add here and you're done, right, with password. Let's move to the next one. Next part is so env is done. Okay, so let's go back to our prisma and work on the schema of the prisma, right? So you can leave this one same like that, prisma client JS, leave it similar to that, no need to change. Here, right, database, a data source, which database we are using, the provider of the database will be MongoDB. So in, you're gonna see PostSQL, I think, yeah, PostSQL when you install, but delete that and put MongoDB there. If I delete, right, you can see that in a Postgres, maybe if I put MySQL, see that MySQL, maybe you're gonna say uh, GraphQL, no, it's not there. Mongo, yeah, so MySQL, MongoDB, see that? So I'm just selecting MongoDB in my case, right? So it's any database which is supported by is Prisma, you're gonna find here. Okay, so select that and done. The env database URL is already coming from our env file here, this one, right? Database URL. So once you place this URL, good to go. Not, and now we don't have to worry, right? It's done. So that is all to set up the database or making connection with your database, right, in the Prisma. The next step is, right, creating the model. Okay, so in here we can create many models. So model user, I can have maybe model letter, I can create post, right, and I will add ID, you know, that ID. So when we creating a model, remember this model creation, right, will be little bit different when you, if you have to use MySQL, it will be little different. I mean, maybe there will be integer and, you know, but in the document type it's all string, right? ID is even string. If you look at our document here, look at this. So ID, object ID, that is a string, right? So okay, so that's how we have to look at this. But in the in the MySQL, you can keep it integer also. All right, so now let's continue, guys. So if you look at this model string, then these are the attributes. When you say @ID, right, @default, these are the attribute. Okay, so attributes we have to add, right? So if you need to, because the ID will be increased by itself, right, automatically, we don't have to add ID manually. Okay, so we have to make sure we pass the auto increment here, auto, right, auto function here in the default. So every time when you create the object or user, you know, it will add the next ID automatically. So mapping this ID, right, will be equal to that ID in our MongoDB, because MongoDB creates the property underscore ID. So we must map, right? So these are the attributes which help us to, you know, solve some issue, right? Basically, our mapping means connecting to the database ID, that the name is ID. So every time when you use ID, sending some ID, right, that ID means it will look inside this ID mapping, right? And then we have to call database with object ID also. We have to write this. So I don't know what it does, but, you know, if you look at the documentation, right, I just got from the documentation. So once we finish, continue to the next step. This is the, you know, database URL for MongoDB. So that is what we created. Yeah, and my first database, something like that we added. And after that, right, go to the next. So see, this is the information we just finished, right? DB provider will be MongoDB, environment is already there, and client is there already, Prisma client .js, right? So we have to run npx prisma db pool. We have to just run this command. Okay, once we finish, right, once we finished up to here, we can run this. So introspecting, right, MongoDB with Prisma means introspecting. Basically what that means, right, basically to inspect like everything working fine or not, right? Let's say if everything is working perfectly, to just make a checking, you have to run this command, introspect your database. So once you run this command, right, our project will go and connect with the database. Basically it will give you some kind of maybe, like, if there is some error, it will return error, or I think there should be some. Let's run this and check, right? You can run anytime you make changes, right? You can run this one, npx prisma db pool. So let's run this and see what happened, you know. run this. So I see I just added something, so that's the error, right? Error. So see, I get error now. See that? It just give me error. So let me comment this out or delete it. No need, right? Delete that. Save and run again. So at least we see now, right? There was some error in the model. We got some error. Okay, we got some error. So when you run that, it says prisma schema loaded from the prisma and environment variable loaded from the env. Everything's checking. Validation, something wrong there, and that's the message for the wrong, right? So let's run again and see how it work. Okay, so the one more thing, right? If we do that one, what it's saying is integrating on one schema using re-introspecting with DB pool is currently not supporting with the MongoDB provider. So you can, we can ignore it or overwrite your current local schema, right? File with this one. So we don't have to do anything. Let's leave it. Let's leave it, right? As long as this is, if there is no error here, if when you creating this schema, right? Or sorry, the model. Okay, when you're creating that model, if there is something wrong, it will, you're gonna see, right? Because it's already type checked and everything will work, right? So ID, look at string, email string, and you add the unique attribute also. So we cannot, adding this attribute will make sure we cannot enter the duplicate email again and again. Okay, name is string, followers maybe int, and default start from 0, right? And is active boolean, you can, these are the few field, right? Registered at, so this will be also added automatically. So most of the information, right, is default. Okay, look at here, ID default, it will increase automatically. Followers is default, boolean is default, that is true, right? So that will be true. Okay, and register at is also default. Whatever time you are adding the data, right, that time will be recorded. The only thing we need to insert in the body is email and name. So when we creating the data, right, we're gonna just put email and name to the body of our message, basically object, right? We pass these two things later. So next thing now, right, this is the model we created. So how now, remember in our mongoose, when we are using mongoose to create model, then you create the object out of that, like mongoose dot what was that, mongoose dot create user something, right? And you returning that user, and that user dot find user dot maybe find by one, create, and all that we used to do. Okay, but in prisma we have to get the code from client, right? This is separate code and it work for everyone, right? So what we have to do is just create the file called client.ts, okay, in the prisma, right? And this one we don't have to write. Okay, they have given, you just put here and it will return this default prisma, and that is the client, right? And this prisma client is going to help us basically run all the methods, okay, for the connection to the database, getting all data, adding, deleting, all operation is going to happen with just this prisma client. Okay, so if you look at this documentation, right, here, so this here is the some model, right? There is a post model, user model, and okay, let's do one thing, right? If we go back here, let's say defining the data model, right? That is okay, that is done. So in the above model, right, we use basic types. Prisma support different complex type prisma model, right? Just open this, right, and learn about the creating model with the different types. Here, like we just have like string, int, boolean. if you want to dive deep, means you want to go more, try to understand more details about the creating model, right, with Prisma. Here is the documentation. So I just search in the Google, right, and add it here, so you can look at this. Okay, so there are users, look at here. So integer, string, and this is when you have the name like with the string question mark, right? This means this is maybe you can add, maybe no required, right? Like optional. Okay, when you see something with a question mark, that is optional. So if something optional, you can put it like, just put the question mark. So this is a post. So now look at here, post also, right? So we can establish the relation from one table to another. You have post, there is a post model, and profile also, look at here. So every time when you create a post, the most likely the ID will be added to this array, right? So let's say this is user, created title, published, author, and author ID, categories right there. And even in the categories you have see that post here. So these are the relational kind of things. Okay, so you just go through, right? Go if you want to go, just read through if you want to have, if you have time, not now but after next week, and see how things work. So this might be, this might be for the, I mean, it's almost same, right, with the MySQL, and I see yeah, so it looks almost same from MySQL and the MongoDB. Okay, but for now let's keep this one away. Okay, let's simple, right, simple data. Okay, we have what we have here, right? One simple model, and try to understand by creating CRUD operation. Very simple. Okay, no need to do like complex thing with the Prisma, right? We can do that maybe later. So you can even look at this table here, right? User, post, and the category to post, all this relationship. Okay, so when you have different tables, you can establish the relation from each other, right? So you can do all that here as well during when you're creating the model. So you can, you have to look through all this document. For example, let's say database connection, MongoDB here. Yeah, so you have to look at the MongoDB, and then basically maybe read through here, right, all that. Okay, for now I will leave that one. Let's get back here. So defining migration, as we define or change our model, right? So let's say after we define the model, right, or maybe make any changes to your model, we have to create migration, correct? This migration keeps our database schema in sync with our Prisma schema, right? So that is, I believe, even I was confused a little bit, right, when I was reading this document this morning. This migration things is only for relational database. Okay, for the MySQL. For our MongoDB, we don't have to do, right? But let me run it again, right? Let's see what it will give us. Okay, npx prisma db push, right? This is the command basically for creating the migration. So okay, let's do one thing, just keep it simple, right? When you create the MongoDB, when you create the model, okay, when you create the model, right, like this, after just run this command. Okay, run this command to sync with the, basically this migration keeps our database schema in sync with our Prisma schema, right? So we have Prisma schema and the database schema also, right? So this will be the let's say we don't see the schema here, right? It will not give me any file. So I believe it might be creating something in the back, right, somewhere in the memory. Okay, so you just have to run one time. I run already before, but I will run it again here. Oh, why is force, right? No need. So if I just copy this, npx prisma db push, right, that is the command. Just run that and see what happened. So you see everything okay, right? It says DB MongoDB database users at the cluster 0. Look at here. So that means with running that command, right? npx prisma db, right? Database push. It will check if we have the users database, right, in the cluster 0 here. You just make a connection, check all that. The database is already in the sync with the prisma schema now. See that? So prisma client, it node modules, prisma client, something it creates. So that is all, right? That is all creating the model we done now. Our database is working, everything looks fine. So the steps now, let me quickly go through now, right? What we have done, first you're going to install the prisma with all that 3 commands, right? And then create the connect to your MongoDB database, create account, basically create the project, right? Create projects and add the password and all that. Okay, get the link and change here. The next after that, go to the prisma schema here, make changes here. MongoDB, change this to MongoDB and you're done. Next step, you create the model and after run that command, right? npx prisma db pull. So that will be, even you can find here, that's the last one. Okay, now our database setup is done, right? Prisma is setup done, but now we're going to create the client. So you see the file here, client.txt, and the code. How are we going to get that? I just, you can search, right? You can search like nextjs prisma client. If you just search here, and it will say nextjs prisma client, like that. Search. And most likely the best practice for best practices for initiating prisma client with nextjs, right? You're gonna get here and maybe copy this one. So it says db in the file db, we just use prisma client, right? Client file, just copy this one, right, and done. Okay, copy this code and put in the client.ts file here. Just put, guys, 1 second. Sorry, I have some disturbance here. Okay, when I'm teaching, right, somebody disturb me, I really get distracted. Okay, let's continue. So where I am now, creating client, right? Yeah, so just add the file here and copy that code and just put it here. We're done. Now it's time to create our API. So this will be same like the model before, right? Remember when you have a model like users, so you say users dot find, or maybe create, or find by ID. That is all is done by this prisma client, this one, just prisma, right? And it will take care of the rest of the work. Okay, so we're going to start creating API. So we know how to create API. Yesterday we did. Go to our API and user, right? Users. So the first API will be getting all the users, correct? So route, so that's the API route, right? Getting all the users. So we have the, remember we already have studied, right, the get function. So that is same thing. Yesterday what we did, we added some data here by default. We just type some data, right? One object or 2 object in the area, we send that one. But in this case, now we're gonna get the data from database. So how you gonna do that? Import prisma client. Look at here, import prisma from prisma client. This is okay, right? So the next step is basically to get all user, right? So this is our function, get all user. So we have to make async now, right? When you're dealing with the network, right? That means you are connecting to the other server and getting data. Always remember async. But every time when you create API, just add async, right? Just make sure you add async and await when you're getting something, or when we posting. For every actions, you make sure you await, okay? So that will guarantee, right, to get the data or maybe some kind of error, whatever, okay? It will not just run to the next line of code, right, until this line is done. So that's why await. And prisma.user, right? So we have the user table, correct? User table. So now it depends, because you might have, right, just remember, you might have many schema, not here. So not here, right? Where is our schema? Here. You might have, sorry, schema model, you might have many model, right? So prisma.user in the small letter, okay? Prisma.user. If you have model with post, right? So you're gonna do prisma.post, small post, right? And then you do find or create, whatever, right? The rest of the function you're gonna do. So with this user, we're gonna get all the users. That is our first API. So let's work on that. I'll close that. So here, right, this is the one. So prisma, we import prisma.user and find many, right? So get, remember before was, I think, what was that, find only, right, in the mongoose. So here the function will be little different, okay? Prisma has some different way of doing work, right? So I mean, there is 2 or 3 functions you have to remember, not many. So let's say before we had find, right? It will give us find first, find many, find raw, unique. So find unique we're gonna use. So right now we just want to get find many, means find all, and that's it. So we're gonna get all the users, and we return here, return, right? And you can even do the, let's say, success, right? You can add the status. I think 200 is success. Yeah. So let's test this, okay, in our what do you call that, in our what is postman here. So we're gonna do the test now, right? So I have one data, right? Right now I have one data in my database, so it should give us that object. So yeah, so let's do what I will do, get, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all that. So our API, the route will be localhost 3000 API/users, right? But I'm running the server, not yet. So let me run npm run development. So in the beginning, I mean, we are looking at first time, right? So it may be little bit of course it will little bit looks odd, but the most of the things is already familiar, right? Most of the thing will be same. So after a couple of practice, in a couple of maybe days, right, will be fine. But when we create a project, what we're gonna do, right now I know you guys have pressure on the test, so let's not worry too much. But after next week, when we work with a project, right, every day we're gonna work hard, okay? Every day we try to memorize it, all the process, what we do. Most of the work you guys have done already, okay? It's just memorizing, right? steps for whole project. We're gonna memorize that one project 100% everyone. Okay, once we do that one, most of the things will be, all the doubt will be gone. So even it takes 1 week extra, I don't care, right? But I want everyone to memorize one project, and just to boost your confidence, right, everyone. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So yeah, so here, if we go back to the Postman, basically localhost 3000 is our base URL, API and users, and this will give me, right, the route file, whatever get request. Okay, so let's run this, and it's still running. Okay, look at here, right? So status is 200. Okay, and ID, email, name, followers 0 right now, that is default. Is active true, that is the default value. And register at, right, this is the time it is registered. Okay, whatever time, date and all that, right? So you see, so that is, if there will be many objects or many data, you're gonna get all that. So that's how you get all the data. I mean, you look at the Prisma, right? Now you may be thinking, okay, Prisma is more easier to use than the Mongoose, right? So yeah, so next step is posting the data. Let's talk about how you're gonna post data, right? Because let's finish here first, and then we're gonna move to the next, like with the ID, because we have to find user by ID, like get single user, maybe update and delete, right? So that is all done with the unique, one of the unique user, that will be ID. So that will be when we create study. Remember, anything to do with the ID, we have a route here, right, inside the ID folder. So same stuff. So here I just update little bit of the also, right, yeah. So this one, the body, basically added the type script here itself. So body is a variable, right, variable colon, you can add type script name and email, correct? Because we're gonna send two data, name and email, right? And I want to make sure they are string, so I added the type script here, and that is okay. The next one is validation, right? So this was from study. Remember the JOD we use to validate our data, correct? So you have import schema, that is from JOD, right? So if you go to the schema file, where is the JOD schema? Might be somewhere where we add that. Let's see, I'm sure. Oh, not in the API, right? It might be in the users. Let's see. God, where I add that? Schema dot schema. Okay, so that is directly somewhere outside, right? So that might be. God, cannot find. So that might be in the app, directly in the app. So here about admin users. Oh, users, inside users. No. Where I put that this schema, it should be somewhere here, right? So not that one, I want to check this. API users. Okay, so it's in the API, right? Yeah. API users, and here, okay, sorry guys, it's here, right? So we have added this schema for this user, okay, to test user. So if you look at here, I added the email. Before we had yesterday we had only name, right? So we just check also for email. Okay, so now when you pass the body, in the body we're gonna have name and email, and it will verify that. So email, it will, it knows how to validate email, that will be string, and you pass the function email, right? And it will check if that is email or not, like at the rate something something, it must validate all that things. And string we know already, right? So yeah, so that's fine. So that is validation. So how you gonna get data, right, from here? For example, let's say user, right? In the user routes, this is post, okay, post in the body, JSON, raw JSON, right? That is the JSON data. So let's add a new one, okay? So I will say here robot welcome, right? And change the email to robot, okay? So we just have to pass these two things, this name and email, right? So in our API, see, this is the API route. This is the route for our API calling post. Method is post, okay? That is what we're calling, right? So with that, what happened in our API users route, this post method, this will execute, this will run. First it will grab all the body data, right, this line, then next it will validate. Okay, let me delete this, we don't need now, right? If validation is success, oh sorry, if there is fail, right, no validation, false means success is false, then you return this next response JSON with error message and status 404. That is for if something is wrong, if there is no success in the validation. Okay, next let's get the user, right? Basically create the user. How you gonna do that now? Prisma.user. So again, to creating user, you have to use the Prisma client, and the table is user, right? And dot create function, inside you pass the object. Look at here, curly bracket, right? In the curly bracket, first property is data. You put the data, and I mean you can pass the whole body also, right? But that is not recommended. What we can do is you break down each property like name, email, you put it like this, so that if someone try to add, let's say maybe somebody, right, try to add maybe another information to our data, it's not possible. They can only pass like name and email, right? You cannot put here something else from somewhere. You make sure we add something like this, exact all the properties separate one by one. So that will create the user, right? That gonna create user. You make sure it's await, because again it's asynchronous. That will create users, and after creating user you can just return the next response with user. That will you're gonna see that created users in your page, right? And status also 201. So let's see if this work. Go back here and post. This is the route and this is the body. We're gonna send name and email. Send request. And look at here, right? So this is the ID, email is here, name is here, followers true, and all that is added. Okay, so yeah, so that now if we go back to our Mongoose, if you refresh this page, right, let's refresh. Where is the refresh button? Somewhere here, here, refresh. Let's refresh that, and you're gonna see two collection now, right? Look at here, the second one and the first one here. Okay, now if we go back again and get user, send request, and you should get the all object here. Look at here. So this is working, the API is working perfectly. All right, so we're done with the getting all and posting, right? So let's deal with the now the ID one, like getting single user, maybe delete and update, right? So let's try that. So you're gonna need the Prisma client, correct? Here also. Now the props, yeah, so this, it took me a little time to understand this part, right? Because I forgot, our ID is string, okay, and we had studied number, okay. So I have not tested all this, right? I don't know if it will work or not. We're gonna make correction and make sure it work now, right? We're just gonna test this right now, because I did not get enough time to go through all this. So props, let's say ID, right? I mean, this is just the validation, correct? TypeScript. Now if I have to get one, let's say I want to get one user, right? How are we gonna do that? First, let's create the route for that. Okay, getting, right? Get, and you're gonna have I can just copy this route, for example, just put here, right? That users, API user slash, and I want one ID. So let's say I will get second one here, right? This one I just want to get, that is robot welfare. Okay, copy that. First understand this logic, right? It's the same thing. Let's say you have ID, you passing that ID, right? And you're gonna send request. So this route means what? Where it will go, right? Localhost API users, inside there is a ID. Look at this ID, right? Inside this route, this page, and it will look for the method. Now what is the method? Get here. So we have to figure out to get that user inside this function, get function. Okay, so we know the any ID you pass, right, you can get as a params, correct? We know that one, we looked at yesterday, and that is ID string, right? That params. So params dot ID. So this params is also object, and it has property ID. So params dot ID we're gonna get. Now, so how we gonna fetch single item from the database? Through our prisma, right? So you have the client prisma dot user table dot find the unique item. That's the function. So we look at the find all, create. Now this is the finding unique, right? Where, so you have to write the clause now, right? Where ID equal to whatever ID you pass here, right? But we must make sure await, because this is the network request. Okay, async await now. So it will return user, right? That single user it will return. So it's saved in the variable user. If no user, if there is no user or null or whatever, right, then we return no user found. We just next response JSON no user found with status 400 or maybe 404, I think. And if there is a user, then next response JSON just return that user, right? So I believe this will work, right? But because I told you I have not tested, so let's see. This will work. Okay, this where, yeah, so I believe that where is everything looks okay to me, but the only I have doubt is ID, right? And because we have added that in the scheme, not here but in prisma, right, we added that mapping, underscore. So ID will be mapped to this underscore ID. So it will be okay, I believe. Let's see. So let's, we have ID. Let's send the request, and come on. Okay, God, it worked, right? It worked. God, because I told you I didn't get time to test, so it worked, right? So see, we get the single. I mean, now once we have this object, we can check for email or maybe whatever you want to check from this object. You can find that and just do the work, right? But it's working. Okay, this is working fine. So the next one is updating, right? Update. So let's see. Now we are not dealing with any more number, so I just comment that out. So in update, right, what are the things we're gonna do now? Await. Okay, so we have to get the data from the so the request, right? Requested JSON, because in update what happened, you're gonna have ID, correct? You're gonna have ID / ID, something like this. Let's create the route first. Okay, so I will copy this same route, right? The route will be same because we must go to that id route. The only function will change, that will be put. Okay, but when you have update, you must pass the data also, right? Like body. So here what we gonna update, we gonna, let's go to the post. Yeah, let's go to the post and copy this, right? The same thing, same data, but we're gonna make some changes there. So in the body you put this, and here make it update data, right? Like that. Okay, so when you send now, right, to this id with this updated data, I mean, you can leave this email, right? You can remove this. You just want to update name, that is okay, or you can leave it, is okay. I mean, listen, because I just want to update the name, right? So I'll, I just want to update something, so that's okay. I can keep that empty. So let's see how this work, right? Let's see how this work. So here we have that object here from the body validation, so that is coming from schema, so you pass that one, that is fine. If validation is success, no success, right? If validation fail, then return this status. So next, right, next what we're gonna do is, let's see, so that is validation, right? So that is fine. So we have the body, right? We have the body. Let me see, right? And also we got prisma. So first, because first, right, we're gonna check. So let's see something like this. Let me delete this, we don't need that, right? Let me write here first, we check if user exists, right? Exists. So we should have check also here, we should have check here also, right? Okay, so I mean, fine, we're getting the user, same thing, right? Yeah, so that is the same thing we have to do. So let's copy this, right, and put it here. First we check if the user exists. So params.id. Okay, so here is already id, right? Okay, I will make it same. Where id, so we just pass id, you pass the id, right? And that id will be this one, this id. Okay, that is id from parameter, the params, right? So next step, we check if there is no user, you return that one, that error, right? The next step is, next step, I mean, we verify, right, if there is user or not, because if there is no user, there is no point of updating, we just go back, right? There is no user found and there is no point of updating. But let's say if there is user, then only we're gonna do this part, right? That will be better idea. So after we're gonna do this part. So from the body you fetch the data, you validate that data with the schema, right? Jod, and then let's see, after that we're gonna, so what we're gonna do now, right? So let's call it updated user, right? Updated user we get from the body, and here, so you have to pass updated user to validate, that is fine. And now we have to update, right? So how are we gonna do that? Let me find the, okay, so we have to do some work here, right? I mean, we can return, this will be here we can update, we can return the updated user, right? That is fine. But the point is, this user must be sent to the database, right? So uh, user. I mean, let's see, right? Whatever we getting, we can validate that. I mean, that is fine. That is our updated user also, right? We can validate that. But next we can say, let's call it cons. Let's save cons, right? Save user. For example, let's do that one, right? Equal to uh, we have to wait. Now we're gonna deal with network, right? So we're gonna call prisma dot and from to the user table, right? And then there is a function update. Okay, so inside here first we have to pass the data, right? There is two things we have to pass. So which ID you gonna update and what is the data, right? So let's put that first property where and that will be ID colon basically, yeah. So I think user ID, right? So I mean we have the user already. Okay, we have the user here, right? So we can pass that user ID. Okay, let's give that same user ID. Okay, user dot ID. So in that one you want to update, correct? Why is the error? Let's see. That is fine. So save user. Here we can call it I don't know why it's giving it data. Now we have to pass data also, right? So data will be basically name. So I mean yeah, so let's keep it name, right? Name. So the name will be coming from the here updated user, and because we sometimes maybe you want to update email also, right? So let's keep it email also, comma, and email will be updated user dot email as well. Yeah, so that, and save user, and that's once you save, right? Maybe what we can do, I mean we don't want to display the information now, right? So here we just say okay, just pass the maybe message, right? Message like user updated. Okay, yeah. So let's try, guys. Hope this will work. I want to see that what we're gonna get here. So okay, let me first leave it for now, and then later we're gonna change that updated user. Okay guys, so let's try. Okay, update this. So we're just passing the name, right? The robot welker update data, sending request to this one, send. Okay, invalid type string. What is the error, right? We get email, missing email now, right? Path email message is required. So okay, so that means basically we have to send Yeah, so the way it is built, right, when during the update, I don't know why. Yeah, I think we have to send both, or unless right, unless what we can do is, unless we remove this one. Okay, let's keep it just name, right, to update name for now. Okay, let's try send request. Okay, that is required. Yeah, so I have to check this update. Okay guys, but for now, let's keep email and update user dot email. I will keep it like that, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass email also here, right, for now. But we, because if you want to update one thing, we will be able to do it, right? So I have to check that code. So let's put the email. So robot@gmail.com and send request. Yeah, so now it's updated, right? If we go back to the database, here let's refresh this, and we should get that updated information. So where is the refresh button here? Yeah, so see that it just updated. Okay, so I mean, that is okay, but my point is we should be able to update at least one of them, right? Name or email. So I have to check how that, how to write API for that one. Something to do here, the finally delete, right? Delete. So for delete also, we, what we're gonna do is, we check first this part. Let's say if there is user or not, right? Let's find that one. We copy here this, here, just to check user is there or not first. So in the delete section, I will remove that and add this. So first we check if there is user or not. Make some change here. That will be only params. That's same thing. I mean, that is, it was destructor before, but I changed little bit. So now params.id with id, right? If there is no user, return done. But how you gonna delete now, right? How are you gonna delete? For, I think status 404. Let's keep that. So we just make it await. So we're not returning anything, right? So prisma dot user, from user, and there will be delete function. I will, yeah, here is delete. So inside here, you have to pass that id, right? Where colon and object id equal to, so we have the user already, right? We found the user, so user id, user dot id. Okay, and that will be done, right? Yeah, so that will be done, and then just display the message if this is successful, right? Just display the message user deleted, status is 200. So save this and try now. Okay, so let's do that. Here delete, yeah, that is fine. So go back to the next route, and we will copy the same one. Okay, let's delete the same thing. I will just copy this whole thing, because you must change the method will be delete route, give the right or correct path. You are deleting that id, this id object you are deleting, and just send the request. And user deleted. So let's see if this is deleted or not, right, in our in our code. So this must be gone. Okay, this data must be gone. So refresh now. Yeah, so we just have one object now, right? And if we look at the everything here, get, so right now there is two object. If you send the request, you're gonna get one object, balance. Okay, so yeah, so that was the basic setup of Prisma with simple example, and we did the CRUD operations, right? We're gonna use the same Prisma during our project. Okay, and we're just going to use our database MongoDB, right? Because I don't want to go through the MySQL. Maybe in the end, if we have time, maybe we can just look at the MySQL database also, because now I see a lot of people start using MySQL as well, right? Creating. So we're going to look at make connection with Mongo Prisma, and then same project, how you're going to convert to MySQL, right? The only problem is installing in your computer. Okay, the MySQL we don't find something easy, I mean freely available somewhere to use, right? So you have to install in your own computers, configure the database and all that, and then make a connection. So we will look at that also. Okay, if someone has good computer speed up, you can do that. If not, let's stick to the MongoDB here. Okay, so thank you very much guys. I hope you all enjoy. During the project we're gonna go through again all this process, and make sure everyone on daily basis memorize it, what we do, right? Even let's say something we studied today, right? If someone has not done that part 100%, we're gonna spend more time next day. Okay, couple of hours, make sure we clean up, do the like 110% should be confidence, right? And then move to the next phase. So that's how we're going to build that project. And do it after completing that project, you should be able to, I mean, even if you watch your any tutorials, you should have confidence to apply your own skill, right? And complete the project. You don't have to copy the same thing, you can use what you have learned. So that's why we're going to try to put everything we need for the modern web application development, right? Okay guys, I will stop here now. Thank you very much.